Bridge to Terabithia movie synopsis by Zillur Movies Recapped. Jess Ahrens is an 11-year-old aspiring artist residing along with his financially struggling household in Lark Creek. He rides the bus to high school along with his youthful sister, Cadbell, the place he avoids the varsity bully, Janice Avery. In school, Jess is bullied by classmates Scott Hoger and Gary Fulcher and meets a brand new scholar named Leslie Burke. At recess, Jess enters a operating occasion, for which he has been coaching at Dwelling. Leslie additionally enters and manages to win, a lot to Jess' irritation. On the way in which Dwelling, Jess and Leslie study their next-door neighbors. Later that day, it's found that Jess has a troublesome relationship along with his father, who spends extra time with Cadbell. Attributable to their monetary struggles, his mom additionally forces him to put on his older sister's sneakers. In the future at college, Leslie compliments Jess' drawing capacity and so they develop into pals. After faculty, they enterprise into the woods and swing throughout a creek on a rope. Jess and Leslie discover an deserted treehouse on the opposite aspect and invent a brand new world, which they name Terabithia. For the following few days, Jess and Leslie spend their free time within the treehouse attending to know one another. Leslie offers Jess an artwork equipment on his birthday. Jess turns into indignant along with his father for his angle in the direction of him and he loses his perception in Terabithia, and refuses its existence the following day at college. Later, Jess apologizes to Leslie by giving her a pet, whom she names Prince Terrian, P.T. As soon as in Terabithia, they encounter numerous creatures, together with an enormous troll resembling Janice, squirrel-like creatures resembling Hoger, whom they title the Scourgers, and bushy vultures, resembling Fulcher. At college, Leslie turns into pissed off by Janice Avery's bullying. Jess and Leslie play a prank on Janice, and he or she is embarrassed in entrance of everybody on the bus. Leslie introduces Jess to her mother and father and so they assist paint their home. At college, Leslie discovers from Janice that her bullying is because of her abusive father, and the two develop into pals, with Janice later befriending Jess as nicely. Jess and Leslie take PT to Terabithia, the place they battle off a number of creatures resembling their bullies, this time with the troll as their ally. The subsequent morning, Ms. Edmonds, the music instructor who Jess has a crush on, calls to ask him on a one-on-one discipline journey to an artwork museum. When Jess returns Dwelling, his father reveals that Leslie died after hitting her head within the creek when the rope she used snapped. Jess first denies it and runs to examine on Leslie, however he notices the severed rope in addition to emergency automobiles surrounding her home earlier than ultimately accepting her demise. The next day, Jess and his mother and father go to the Burke household to pay their respects. Leslie's father, Invoice Burke, tells Jess she beloved him, and thanks him for being the perfect buddy she ever had, since she by no means had pals at her old style. Jess feels overwhelming guilt for Leslie's demise, lashing out at each Hoger and Cadbell, and imagining the darkish grasp from Terabithia chasing after him earlier than breaking down into tears. However, his father comforts and consoles him by telling him to maintain Leslie's reminiscence alive. Jess decides to reimagine Terabithia and builds a bridge throughout the river to welcome a brand new ruler. He invitations Cadbell to Terabithia and the two conform to rule over Terabithia, with Jess as king and Cadbell because the princess. Bridge to Terabithia is a 2007 American fantasy drama directed by Gabor Sisupo and written by David L. Patterson and Jeff Stockwell. It's primarily based on the 1977 novel of the identical title by Catherine Patterson. The movie, starring Josh Hutcherson, Anna-Sophia Robb, Robert Patrick, Bailey Madison, and Zooey Deschanel, follows two 11-year-old neighbors who create a fantasy world known as Terabithia to deal with actuality and spend their free time collectively in a deserted tree home. The unique novel was primarily based on occasions from the childhood of the writer's son, screenwriter David Patterson. When he requested his mom if he may write a screenplay of the novel, she agreed partly due to his capacity as a playwright. Produced by Walden Media and Klasky Sisupo, Principal Images was shot in Auckland, New Zealand, inside 60 days. Movie enhancing took 10 weeks, whereas post-production, music mixing, and visible results took a number of months, with the movie absolutely accomplished by November 2006. This was Michael Chapman's final movie as cinematographer earlier than his retirement and eventual demise in 2020. Bridge to Terabithia was theatrically launched in the USA on February 16, 2007 by Walt Disney Footage. The movie obtained constructive critiques from critics who praised the visuals, performances and faithfulness to the supply materials. It was a box office success, grossing $137.6 million worldwide towards its price range of $20–25 million. On the 29th Younger Artist Awards, the movie gained all 5 awards for which it was nominated. Summaries: a preteen's life turns the other way up when he befriends the brand new lady at school, and so they think about an entire new fantasy world to flee actuality. Rising up within the redneck nation is not straightforward for shy Jess Aarons. With a father struggling to make ends meet, 3 smug greater sisters and a child he has to take to high school and watches usually. In school he bonds with cheeky newcomer Leslie Burke, whose scientist mother and father moved into the neighboring villa, regardless of her taking his solely native status by beating him within the race. Wandered off after faculty within the woods, they devise a fantasy land, Terabithia, the place they are often the superheroes of imaginary feral races. Collectively, additionally, they rise up towards faculty bullies. However, then tragedy strikes and Jess should modify once more. A little bit creativeness can typically go a good distance. The story of younger and artistically gifted Jesse Aarons, who's sharing considerations and cash issues along with his household. He is having hassle at college with the bullies, and there's a bully-like troll who expenses the youngsters a greenback to go and pee. He's combating for the eye of his father, towards his child sister. Life for younger Jesse is not wanting up. That's till the adventurous, imaginative and nonconformist Leslie Burke arrives on the town. Collectively they type a bond, and Jess's life shall by no means, once more, be the identical. Adventures and amazement in different worlds focus on these two kindred spirits, and for as soon as, for Jesse, life is not so unhealthy in any case. In case your thoughts is vast sufficient, then let your creativeness take you over the bridge to Terabithia. Jess Aarons comes from a poor farmer household with 4 annoying sisters. He finds no haven at college, the place he is teased by everybody. The one factor Jess has is operating. After coaching all summertime for the large race on the varsity athletic day, he and each different boy racing are beat by new lady Leslie Burke. Like Jess, Leslie is teased by her fellow college students. However, in contrast to Jess, she does not let it trouble her. After a rocky begin, they discover frequent floor and collectively create the imaginary world of Terabithia as a haven from their struggles at college and at dwelling. Leslie teaches Jess to open his thoughts to each risk and go away actuality behind. However, after a tragedy happens, Jess should believe in what Leslie has taught him to assist overcome the horrors that actuality can deliver. The 5th grad, Jesse Aarons trains all summertime to win the large race at college, solely to have newcomer Leslie Burke beat him, together with everybody else. Regardless of all their variations, the two rapidly develop into pals and uncover a magical kingdom throughout the creek. They title it Terabithia, the place they've many adventures collectively, and present one another the right way to stand as much as the bullies at college. Primarily based on a kids' fantasy story written by Catherine Patterson, and produced by the identical firm that did the most recent Chronicles of Narnia. I assumed that the film would most likely be mediocre given my lukewarm response to movies of comparable style like Pan's Labyrinth and The Final Mimsy. And the way improper was Bridges of Terabithia trumps over all the films talked about, principally as a result of it had a very good story to inform, and caught to telling that story as a substitute of being distracted by the bells and whistles of particular results. It tells the story of a budding friendship struck between 2 children, each lonely souls who discovered one another by advantage of being in the identical class, and neighbors. Jesse Aarons, Josh Hutcherson. Final scene in RV, is the lone boy in a household of ladies, and finds that he's merely residing in a world of his personal, getting no consideration from his mother and father or siblings. He finds solace in his drawings, whereas being goal apply for the bullies at school. Newcomer to the neighborhood Leslie Burke, Anna Sophia Robb. Final scene in The Reaping, shares the identical loneliness, being new to city, and uncared for by her mother and father once they go into their inventive writing zone. Terabithia turns into the fantasy world the chums discover themselves in, a forested space off their residence. There, they develop into who they need to be, and through their imaginative world, develop into quick playmates, and agency pals. And with new discovered confidence and power, they develop into extra nimble in navigating by means of the varsity's playground politics. For sure, regardless of their age, you may be questioning if, like Mookson, the friendship between the two will grow to be one thing deeper, with all the texture good moments round. What I favored about its positivity within the themes explored, regardless of a darkish second. It is about hope, love, the facility of creativeness once you open your thoughts and make consider. It has grown-up themes, and considerably offers a really feel like Pan's Labyrinth, minus the darkish moody overtones. I am unable to assist however guffaw on the dialogue of Faith 2. For probably the most components it has a breezy tempo, till it sledgehammers sure feelings that can positively deliver on a tear or two from those that are mushy-hearted. The leads too do a commendable job, and their chemistry simply excellent. They fed off one another's enthusiasm nicely, and made Terabithia plausible. The particular results did not go excessive, or turned on unnecessarily, as they're fairly small scale in comparison with the arsenal employed for different fantasy motion pictures, due to this fact not stealing the thunder, or distract the viewers from the story. Reined in correctly, the results are simply results, and never the principal deal. The final act certainly takes the cake, and you may most of the time really feel for the characters, and surprise about selfishness. Until you do not have a coronary heart, you may positively really feel sorry, and perceive the blame inflicted. With supporting casts like Robert Patrick and Zooey Deschanel, Hitchhiker's information to the universe, who additionally lent her voice because the singing schoolteacher, do not miss Bridge to Terabithia. Oh, and convey a date alongside too. Overview manufacturing for the movie started on February 20, 2006, 5, with a price range of $20–25 million. Principal images for the movie was shot in Auckland, New Zealand INS. I'd 60 days. Movie enhancing took 10 weeks, whereas post-production, music mixing, and visible results took just a few months. The movie was completed by November 2006, as a result of the crew needed to rush to fulfill the February 16 deadline. The movie was directed by Nickelodeon's Rugrats co-creator and former Hanna-Barbera animator Gabor Sisupo, who was first beneficial for the job by Walden Media president Cary Granat. Though Sisupo had by no means labored on a live-action movie earlier than, it did not fear Granat within the least. Sisupo acknowledged that he was concerned about making the movie as a result of he had the ambition to do a live-action movie for a very long time, however that he did not like something till I learned this e-book. He described the e-book as lovely, and stated that it moved him. Bridge to Terabithia was cinematographer Michael Chapman's remaining movie earlier than his retirement. Chapman talked about within the movie's DVD commentary that he retired after capturing this movie as a result of he needed his final movie to be a very good one. That is such a stupendous story, and it is precisely the sort of film I need to do presently in my life. Casting. Bailey Madison was solid as could Bell Aarons. Director Sisupo acknowledged that they had no actors initially in thoughts for the movie. The primary actor solid was Anna Sophia Robb as Leslie Burke. Robb wrote Sisupo such a stupendous, heartwarming letter that expressed her love for the e-book and the character. Sisupo stated that he solid her due to her letter, her enthusiasm, and her love of the fabric. Robb additionally conversed with producer Lauren Levine earlier than casting even started, and their dialogue satisfied her that, surely, Anna Sophia was meant for this function. Levine stated that, it was simply so clear in speaking to her about all this fantasy that I used to be principally speaking to Leslie, that she had that very same sort of spark and magical presence. She is perhaps bodily completely different from Leslie within the ebook, however the spirit of Leslie and the spirit of Anna Sophia are practically identical. It was a match made in heaven. With regard to the character, Robb stated, Leslie's a kind of individuals who's simply at all times lit up, who has this glow about her, and nobody can deliver her down. Leslie's such a vigorous and energetic character, it was actually enjoyable for me to develop into her. Levine acknowledged that, In Search of Jessie was a very robust hunt. We wanted somebody who may go from an introverted boy in an remoted world to somebody who fully faucets into his creativeness and turns into a assured, courageous chief in Terabithia. That is a heck of a variety for such a younger actor. 9. Josh Hutcherson was not their first alternative for the function of Jesse Aarons. However, they settled with him as a result of they felt the chemistry between Anna-Sophia Robb and him. Hutcherson stated that the mission appealed to him due to the true-life day-to-day drama in addition to the arc of the character Jesse. The filmmakers solid Robert Patrick as Jess's hard-working and strict father, primarily based on his earlier roles within the movies Stroll the Line, Flags of Our Fathers, and the TV sequence The Unit. Patrick defined that he associated to the story as a result of he was continually creating imaginary worlds as a child, himself, and that the movie's setting reminded him of the place he grew up. He additionally stated that he took on the function as a result of he needed to star in a movie that his kids may watch. Sisupo stated that they solid Bailey Madison as Cud Bell Aarons after weeks of looking for an actress to play the half. He went on to say that, she had such a attraction, even earlier than the Digicam, she was similar to just a little sweetheart. She was very assured, she confirmed up, shook fingers with everyone, completely candy and perky. I stated, ow, she was simply stealing everyone's coronary heart on the spot. Design and results. Sisupo defined that, it was a really acutely aware determination from the very starting that we're not going to overdo the visible results due to the story's integrity and the e-book's integrity. As a result of there was solely a short point out of Jess and Leslie combating imaginary creatures within the forest within the novel. With that in thoughts, they tried to do absolutely the minimal, which might be required to place it right into a film model. In designing the fantasy creatures present in Terabithia, Sisupo needed to make creatures that have been little extra artsy, imaginative, fantastical creatures than the standard rendered characters you see in different motion pictures, and drew inspiration from Terry Gilliam and Ridley Scott. Dima Milanichev got here up with the drawings for the creatures with Sisupo's steerage. Sisupo selected to have Weta Digital render the 3D animation as a result of he was impressed with their creative integrity, the teamwork, the fact that individuals have been very nice, and in addition they responded to our designs very positively. Weta modified a few of the creature designs, however in the end remained devoted to Sisupo's authentic designs. There have been around 100 crew members from Weta engaged on the results for the movie. Weta was already engaged on animating the creatures whereas the movie was being shot, and Weta crew members have been on set for all of the scenes that concern particular results through the filming. Weta Visible Results Supervisor Matt Aitken defined that course of concern in deciphering the creatures was cut up into 2 steps. First, natural-looking creatures have been created primarily based on pencil sketches by Sisupo and Milanichev, and this was achieved principally by means of Photoshop collages achieved by Visible Results artwork director Michael Pangrazio. The second step was to determine animation or movement kinds that finest suited these creatures. Leslie's costumes within the movie have been designed to look as if the character might need made a few of them herself, and so they have been up to date from these described within the ebook to mirror what would at present be thought about eccentric. Writing producer and screenwriter David L. Patterson is the novel's writer's son, and his title was featured on its dedication web page. The story was primarily based on his real-life finest buddy, Lisa Hill, who was struck by lightning and killed once they have been each 8 years outdated. Patterson had requested his mom, Catherine Patterson, if he may write a screenplay of the novel, and he or she agreed, not solely as a result of he is her son, but additionally as a result of he is an excellent playwright. Patterson had problem advertising the screenplay, principally due to Leslie's demise. When you can consider this, I did meet with some corporations that requested if I may simply harm Leslie just a little bit, put her in a lightweight coma after which deliver her out. A very powerful factor for Patterson was to maintain the spirit of the e-book alive, whereas discovering a strategy to rework it from a novel that takes place principally within the characters' heads to a dynamic visible medium. Patterson knew that the movie needed to be about friendship and creativeness. 9. whereas Patterson's centered on bringing out the feelings of the story. He admitted to having problem writing about Terabithia, as a result of it was too shut. He credited fellow screenwriter Jeff Stockwell for recreating Terabithia for the movie. What Jeff was in a position to do as an outsider who wasn't so hooked up to the story was to essentially let his creativeness go free and make up this world in a beautiful method, David stated. Sisupo famous that the two important characters are just a little bit older within the movie than they're within the ebook.